Are you getting feedback on me?
So we are live right now, guys. So
you sound good, John.
Okay.
You sound great, buddy.
Yeah. Are you at work or something?
Well, I'm in my office. Oh no, with arms.
Nice.
Is that your notification that Rimfire Nation went live?
Yeah. A little belated.
Technology is incredible how much it does for you. It's like it's never been easier to do something like this.
And so fast.
Yeah. It's like practice score for a match director. Like without practice score, this whole thing would not work.
Practice score is Canadian too.
Yeah, it's a guy from Toronto, the GTA.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
I invited him to our match. He says, no, I'm more of an IPSC guy. I don't like that traditional shooting stuff. It's like, how insulting. Thanks, buddy. I thought you'd like to see how people use it. No, not interested.
Well, heck, I mean, if he does that stuff, bring him out to like a race gun or something.
True. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I didn't want to have to sell him on it, you know?
Yeah, of course. But that's true. A lot of people in the GTA do IPSC because they don't have the distance for long range.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. But you can't get a membership now, though, right?
No.
Hey, Doug. Hey, Jesse. Welcome, guys.
The old faithfuls.
Because they don't have the
Kevin.
For long range.
Kevin's looking dapper.
As
you
usual.
got a job interview or something, Kevin? You got a job interview?
No, Jesse. Sorry, I'm getting 2 echoes. Okay, let's try that.
Oh.
Hello?
Whoa. Hi. Testing.
Yeah. No, it's better now.
Here you go. Okay. Yeah, Kevin, you look good. You can't even tell you were rolling around in the dirt like an hour and a half ago.
We were just out doing a practice session at Stittsville.
Yeah,
and
it was good.
I'm not even lying to you. I wear this same thing like every day. I have 5 shirts that look the same, 2 pairs of pants that look the same.
He's like that cartoon character when he opens the closet. It's all just the same clothes hanging in a row. That's Kevin.
That's like John Wick. John Wick does that, right? Black suit, black shirt, black tie.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe he's the second Orphan X. We just don't know it.
Hey, Rob.
I just finished buying. I'm throwing out all my socks and all my boxers, and I'm buying only stuff that I can readily get from Amazon, so that I don't have any mismatched anything.
Oh man.
Yeah. Just buy 30 pairs of the same pair of socks.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Although only 24.
Smart. See, the mistake I made was they're very similar, but not exactly the same. Right. So when they get put away, I've got their black socks.
And that way, if they're all the same, you can just dump them in a drawer. You don't have to pair them because any 2 you pick out is a match. That's genius.
That's it. That's what I do. That's what I want to do. Simple.
That's it, man. CRPS life hacks.
Maria says I would fit so well in communism. And I said, you know what? That's not true. I'm only communist when it comes to social things. When it comes to my ability to make money and anyways, I got to be careful with what I say next. But I'm definitely not.
This is live, Kevin.
So this guy, I drove truck. I ran west, and one of my coworkers, he wore the same shirt and pants Monday. Then he had different shirt and pants for Tuesday. He followed the same system every week. He stopped the same places. He slept the same places.
The same schedule, yeah.
Perfect schedule, incredibly efficient. But then somebody was laughing at him and said that everywhere you stop, all the waitresses are going to think you wear the same clothes all week long.
True.
So
you just need eight pairs so you can stagger them one day apart.
but you know what? Nobody cares if you wear the same clothes.
No. You guys,
as long as you don't
you guys
smell,
are missing the point. Exactly. You got to be proud of the fact that you're a utilitarian individual and you want to wear the same thing every day. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually agree with that. I think that's a good.
I've been watching. Maria says, I've been watching The Office, so my role model is Ron. Or not The Office. Sorry, Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it. All right, guys, we're going to go live. Stand by. We're going to the intro. Hey, guys and gals, welcome to the Rimfire Nation Podcast, episode 16. This week, the gang gets together to talk about Rimfire Extreme Long Range. As always, the Rimfire Nation Podcast is proudly brought to you by Tesro. Past episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and on the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Let us check out what is new and exciting at Tesro. 1 second. Let me share that screen. Tesro.ca, sorry.
I have a suggestion for Asmir, though. He should in some more CZ Rimfire mags because I can't find them anywhere.
Oh, no?
Yeah, they seem to be out of stock everywhere.
He's got that source. He's the source. Let's check out the just arrived. I got the email today, but there was nothing that I saw that was new, but he still got the smoking deals on the Ely Contact and the Ely Action. I'm surprised he still got some left, but I think I delivered, that's like, I don't know, 60,000 rounds. He's got a ton. So he's good. So if you are looking for good, affordable ammunition, this is your chance to stock up. He's also got that P10 optics ready for $839. That CZ P10. I'm tempted, but I've already got an optics ready.
I have a question about that Ely stuff because it says it's a box of 300 rounds. Is it just loose? Like it's just in a box?
No. They're 6 boxes of 50 in there.
Okay, interesting. I wonder why they packaged it like that.
I don't know. Sticker shock.
Yeah,
it does look like a rec pack, you know?
Yeah, like just one of those tubs.
It's how many you should be shooting when you are recreationally shooting.
Right.
I guess. So, hey, I am Rick. For those that don't know me, I am one of the members of the CRPS team, occasional match director. I am looking to shoot more and work less. That is my life goal. So hopefully 5 to 10 years from now, that'll happen. We'll see. And I'll let Matt introduce himself, then we'll go around clockwise.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Matt. I am a competitive shooter helping out Rick this year with some behind-the-scenes stuff for CRPS. I am Womfat on YouTube and Instagram, and looking forward to the NRS match this weekend.
Hey, guys.
Ixnay on the Achme is Eakland way.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, how about you, Ken? How are you doing?
Good. My name's Kevin. I'm a competitor, I guess, for a couple of years, and relevant to this night's channel, we're going to be talking about ELR, and Matt and I are the two crazy guys who ended up shooting 22 at about 1 kilometer, 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Just shy of a kilometer.
Yeah, exactly.
No?
Just shy of a kilometer. So I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point tonight, as well as any other stuff ELR related.
Yeah, I got some of the rounds here to share after too.
Yeah,
that's cool. John G.
And John is certainly no stranger to ELR, so we'll see.
John's looking dapper too, eh?
Yeah, he always looks dapper.
Yeah, I got in trouble
really
for that, eh? My wife took one look at me. I was upstairs watching the little guy, and I come down. She said, "What's this? You slick up for a podcast?" So, yeah,
you can't win. You can't win, man.
No, never can. You can always try though. Take it with a smile.
Yeah.
Move on.
There you go.
Anyway, guys,
you guys are all looking dapper.
And,
awesome.
Definitely full-out competitor in the 22 Rimfire PRS, and I also host some matches. And the ELR is something of interest to me, so it's it's gonna be an interesting podcast. But we're definitely all learning.
So the interesting thing is, 5 years ago, long range rimfire was 100 yards. You would brag if you were hitting things at 100 yards 5 years ago, and now that's just warming up.
That's not true.
No.
5 years ago, like, why would you be shooting a 22?
Well, believe it or not, people have been shooting 22 before 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm behind the time.
Yeah, not everybody
No,
has big
John has
centerfire
a point though.
budgets.
I think 5 years ago is when 6.5 Creedmoor was the cool caliber on
Oh,
the block.
yeah.
Yeah.
The 6.5 guys were the hot
Yeah.
ticket, man.
Yeah, they just randomly disappeared, huh?
They're still out there, I think, but everyone is a 6.5 guy now, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't unique anymore.
It's now 6.5 Nation.
6.5 Nation.
But clearly, you guys have
No.
more money to spend than I do. Because I've always been like a 22 only guy because it's the cheapest stuff per trigger pull. So, you know.
Yeah. I was a 223 guy. 223 wild guy. Those are the good old days.
You can
I shot a lot of 223.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best. It's the best. It's
Yeah.
cheap. Well, back then, I bought a case of 223 for maple seed. It's like $700 for 1,000. It's like,
Yeah,
holy
that's
cow.
I want to do a maple seed with centerfire because it just seems like it'd be so much fun.
Well, let's digress for a second because that's what we had planned. Our inaugural match was May 29th in Virden, Manitoba at Wolverine. We were going to do the known distance maple seed, which is 100, 200, 300, and 400 yard maple seed with full-size targets. So we don't scale them, which is neat. So we actually go through the whole dope gathering, which is cool. Anyway, so we're going to have that this year. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Very cool.
We got the patches. So you get a different patch if you do KD Rifleman.
Yeah,
You got to slow down your refresh rate, Kevin.
Yeah, drop your frame rate to 4 and maybe she'll pass by.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think that was about a 4. Yeah, 4 frames per second should do it.
Yeah. No, Rick, what I was going to ask though is that is possible probably with a bolt action as well, right? You don't need a semi for that? Okay.
No, you don't need a semi. You don't need a semi. But again, for guys just learning, right? Semi's always better because you don't break position and you can stay within everything. So if you want to just absorb the lessons, then shoot a semi. But if you want to score, like I know all 3 of you guys do, then you go bolt.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that maple seed video Kevin and I just did. But Kevin slayed it, man. Kevin's a friggin' sharpshooter.
he's an Iceman. That's good. Means so. Comic Sniper asks, does maple seed ever come out to the Vancouver area? Yes. Annually, we usually end up on the island, Vancouver Island, actually, Comic Sniper. So this year we were set up for Campbell River, and we will be trying to get to Victoria Fish and Game. We also used to have it at Mission, Rod and Gun Club, and we're desperately trying to find other host locations in the lower mainland. Rob Longbridge asks, mag limit on center fire. Mag limit is just based on the string of fire for maple seed. So 2 and 8 usually is what you'll load, or 10. So you'll be loading one of those, either 2 and 8, 2 mags of 1 and 1 was 2, 1 is 8, or
so
mag of 10.
Having like a hunting rifle with an internal mag of 5 rounds is not going to be great for that. Huh?
It's challenging. But yeah, there's a few out there that take detachable mags.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you seen the new BCL MRX that came out last week or something like that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
There's so much coming. There's so much coming out there. Yes, I hear you, Comic Sniper. The ferry is expensive. I was towing a trailer. So take the ferry to Vancouver Island. We'll digress for just 30 more seconds and we'll get on topic. It's $170 for a car and trailer to get on the ferry to Vancouver Island.
Jeez,
one way.
Swim.
It's like brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, learn my lesson. Don't take the trailer. All right. So extreme long range ELR, like I was saying, like now we're pushing it. So at the beginning of CRPS, we had on the championship 2-day matches, we'd put one out at 400 just for shits and giggles. But really, it's more luck than skill at that point for most of the people. So we ended up pulling them back. So rarely do we go over 300 because at that point you're really not testing anything. You're not really having fun. You're just sending it out there. But there is a role for extreme long range, and I think we're at the point where enough people have enough experience under their belt, and there's enough conversation out there. And now the minimum cant is like 40 MOA, which is nuts. The first year it was 0. Second, third year we were at 20, and now all the cool kids are rolling around with 40s and 50s. So either on rings and rails. So now it's time to bring that in. And part of the conversations we've been having is setting up a dedicated ELR. And I know that there's a couple of groups in Facebook that are doing that ELR challenge. I think some of you guys have shot that. John, you shot that, right?
Yeah.
What was that group called again? I can't remember. ELR challenge?
I think it's called ELR challenge. Yeah.
ELR challenge.
It's 22 ELR challenge.
Oh yeah.
22 ELR challenge. And what's the structure around that? Is it 400 yards and?
Yeah, basically it'll be he uses IPSC, but like a 12-inch wide plate at 400 yards, and then a 3-foot plate at 400 yards. So it's not terribly difficult to do. You just have to go and do it.
Right.
And you have
That's his goal. Yeah, you have to have the 500 yards.
Yeah.
But
nice.
His goal was not to have it too difficult to start. The next one will definitely be more challenging.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of equipment, can most people get to 400 with the current average rifle with 35 MOA cant?
I think we were actually just talking about this tonight. If you have 26 mils of upward adjustment, however you want to crack it there, whether it's turret and reticle or just turret or whatever, 26 is what you need to get out to about 450 yards.
Okay.
And then about 32 or so is what you need to get out to 550. So I would say anybody who's running a $1,000 optic can do it.
It's like a Vortex Diamondback Tactical 4-16.
And yeah, that'll do it as well because they have a tremendous amount of travel.
Right.
And for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, if ever you're buying a scope, always go with the lower power option because you end up with a significant amount more travel than the higher magnification options.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a huge plus. I would say as it stands, probably 50% of the competitors can do it. Can go out
with the equipment they've got.
Yeah, they can go out to 450, 500 yards just with their stock setup, I would say.
With 20 MOA rail?
Yeah. Because they're going to have with a 20 MOA rail, you're going to have about 20 mils in your scope, 18 to 20 mils in your scope, and then you're going to have another 10 in your reticle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So out of the box, you could just run it.
Exactly.
Nice. So if you put like another 20 or 40 MOA, then you can go out to 400, 500 maybe?
I would say with a 50 MOA rail, which I think is kind of the most you can get, your top limit is about 600 if you're running supersonic. That's your top limit without having to put in an adjustable rail or like one of those air attacks or a periscope of some sort. Yeah. I would say 600 is the practical limit of a fixed setup without needing some adjustment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I know Matt and Kevin have shot far. John, what's the farthest you've shot with a rimfire?
500.
Is that your regular long distance? Is that something you shoot very often?
No. 400, I would shoot 400 regularly. 500 is just if I go and set it up.
And then how much?
I can't right now because the crops in the field, so it kind of cut that short on me.
Right. So how much cant do you have on your rifle now to get there?
I have I'll be running. What did I say the other night?
I can't remember.
Oh, you had a 30 MOA base and a 20 MOA rings or something like that.
No, 30 and a 30 because my Rimex I have a 40. I have a 40 MOA base and I have a 20 MOA mount on it currently. 60. Yes, I'm running 60.
Wow. And that gets you 500.
That's slightly more than what I actually need. I have my full adjustment in my scope, So I have 28.5 mils because with the Minox, you got the 2 revolutions. And I was just looking.
And you didn't have to hold in your reticle, John?
Wow.
No.
Nice.
So at 600 yards with force, I would need to hold 15 mils in the reticle. Okay. And so I run out of Christmas tree. I have 15, I have like 20 or 30 mils, but I don't have the Christmas tree anymore for wind.
Right. So as a practical limit then, without going to a Charlie Tarak or an air attack, you would be able to get to 600 theoretically with 60 MOA base or 60 cant.
I'm going to say 550.
Yeah, I would agree that with 550, you would have to have the perfect setup with subsonic ammo, 550 with supersonic 600.
Are you still using the reticle though, or are you just dialing?
No. This you would need to be using your reticle.
Okay, so that's the practical limit.
Yeah, and then I would just subtract 100 yards if you're talking practical limit with just your turrets. I would say it's probably 450 for center fire for subsonic, and then 500 for
Interesting.
Oh, I was doing bad math here. My bad. Because I have 28.8 mils, so I can with subsonic I can hold like 590.
So with mine, I just put it into Strelok here. Based on today's conditions, I would max out with my turrets, I would max out at about 490 yards, but then I still have 10 mils in my reticle.
Yeah, so, exactly. So that kind of lines up. I would say you're basically 450 to 500 in your turrets, and then you're 550 to 600 if you use everything you've got.
Yeah, with my reticle, I can get up to 570 or so, somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, anything past that, really the biggest challenge, besides finding the piece of land to do it on, would be the optic setup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or if you have enough background features to hold over, aim for the top of the radio tower.
Yeah, that being said, if you, I mean, I don't know how often you're going to have that, right?
Well, we would set it up that way. We would put the 700-yard target in front of the radio tower.
Right in front. There you go. Yeah. I remember on my first match ever, I think I had 12 mils in my scope, and I had to hold something like 18 or whatever. Well, the way I ended up doing it was I maxed out my turrets, and then I looked through the reticle at a tree, and I figured out where the bottom of my reticle met the tree, and then I added whatever else I needed in the tree. So I didn't even see the target whenever I was shooting, and I hit it. It was a board target.
That's awesome.
But that's besides the point. No, where I was going with that. Oh, no. I just lost my train of thought with that comment.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about
we're talking about radio towers.
Yeah, I know.
Visible.
No, I lost it.
Okay. Jeff has a question.
You make me feel young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can read that question, Matt?
Sure. Yeah. Jeff Cobb asks, what base and scopes are you all running to get this distance? And then he says, John, thanks for the spreadsheets. Really appreciated them.
Yeah, see if you can figure them out now.
Geeking out. So the spreadsheets are free, but the tutorial's like $99.99, right? Is that how you do it?
That's for the first minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never intended it to be for. It's just my own selfish desire.
For human consumption.
Yeah. So there's no tech manual to go along.
No.
But if you have Excel, he'll figure it out. Like
you know, just put on your YouTube channel just behind a paywall, man. You'd be a millionaire.
You need one of those Patreons.
Yeah. So let's break it down. So in terms of gear to shoot ELR, and ELR for us is anything past 350 is the ELR for us, because that's where you start getting into a lot of the special gear that you'll need to be successful. Like anyone can go out there and lob lob rounds at a target, and with enough rounds, you'll make hits, right? Like you 1,000-yard guys. But so starting with your decent competition rifle, I don't care whether it's production or open, right? Because we talked about it. Good consistent ammo, right? You'll get more hits. That's the fundamental. And then we talked about adding cant to it. So with that Vortex, even again the Diamondback Tactical, the 4-16, that's got enough travel to get you out to 400. And then with cant, whether it's 30, 40, or 50, like the more cant, the better, right? To the point that you're basically trying to get to the bottom of your turret range, your elevation range, so you get that full travel available to you.
I'm not sure with Diamondback that you could run more than a 40 MOA rail.
Probably not.
0 at 50.
Yeah, you'd have to play around with it.
So the Diamondback Tactical 4-16, I just looked it up now, has about just shy of 25 mils internal elevation. But you're not going to get out to 400 without a canted base. And that would be really maxed out. So assuming you could still 0 at 50 with your elevation all the way at the bottom of that, you'd still have to use the reticle a little bit to get out to 400 with the Diamondback Tactical 4-16.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to 0 at 50. You could 0 at 100.
Yeah, you could.
If you were a CRPS guy.
Well, no, then you would need. It doesn't save you. Yeah, I don't think it saves you anything.
No,
because you're still dialing up to 100 to 0 there, unless you have.
No, but if you.
No, it does save you.
If you get such an aggressive base that you can't 0 any lower.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You max it out.
Yeah, but then you can't really use your rifle for competition. It would be like an ELR specific build, right, or something like that.
Well, you could hold under.
Yeah, okay.
You can hold unders with your reticle, right?
I seriously considered that actually with my 1 Minox because, but there's no point because I can get all the elevation anyway.
Yeah.
You're 2 mils above center. I could easily 0 at 100 and hold under.
Yeah,
and I'm just RPS, so.
Yeah, I'm just trying to strategize for guys that wanna, like what is the least costly setup you could run, right?
I think the least costly setup, if they will ever still ship scopes to Canada, is SWFA. It's a company. It's literally SWFA. I don't know what it stands for, but they're like $299. It's a fixed power 10 scope or 10 times fixed power. It's got a 42 millimeter bell or whatever. Like it's super bare bones. They have 40 mils of internal adjustment.
Really?
Yeah. So you get that, and then plus you get yourself. If you don't want to spend big bucks, you just get whatever rail comes with your 1022. Get one of those Burris XTR adjustable rings, right?
Yeah.
Put those right in as close as possible. You'll probably get about 60 to 65 MOA, and then you'll have about a full 40 mils upward adjustment plus another 10. You'll have 50 mils. That would be the most budget option. I know this because I've looked at it multiple times. That's what I would say.
And I don't think a guy has to be scared of running a 10 power optic either.
No, absolutely not. It's not going to limit you. No,
it's not going to limit you.
And
you just got to get over that fear factor of being able to fill your optic with target, right? Like, crosshair is crosshair, man. It's wherever they meet is where the bullet's supposed to go.
Well, you see what's matter how big it is with open sights.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know how they see the target though, or is the target so big that it just fills the sight, like the 1,000-yard iron sight?
Sure,
they're shooting like 4 feet.
Is it a 10 MOA?
A 4 MOA target's a 4 MOA target. It doesn't matter what distance it's at.
I know. I'm thinking the black would be 10 MOA, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
No, that would be huge.
Yeah, that would be way too big.
It's too big.
Yeah. our target at 1,000 yards was 5
4
MOA,
feet.
4.8 MOA.
Yeah.
Because it was 4 feet. So, I mean that was easily seen without any problem. And we were looking through a periscope that had like really crappy glass. So I don't think
Was that a Kev Fat glass?
Yeah, it was just a Kev.
Just a Kev glass.
It was Kev glass.
Yeah,
Kev glass.
I mean, okay, but realistically, that
You were
mirror,
running-
I mean, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't like a dollar store mirror. This was like an optical grade mirror. It wasn't the highest end, but it was still very expensive.
That's right. Yeah, it would have been like maybe $100 for the mirror.
Yeah.
So
It was not bad. Go ahead, Chad.
but you were running like 12 power magnification, somewhere 10 or 12.
I would say so. Yeah, 10, 12. Yeah.
When I was shooting, I think it was just around 12 to 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
you got a big contrasting white thing. I mean, you just got to put your crosshair right.
Yeah, I remember we spent like 30 minutes painting that target because like it was so big and we just had a spray can. We were just going back and forth for like ages.
Yeah. I just generally, I think we can move on from this subject. But as far as magnification goes, I think there's value in going up to 16 power or so. I think most people, especially beginners, if anything, all beginners shouldn't be on any magnification beyond 12 power. I think they should be banned from doing that because it doesn't. They're wasting so much time looking for stuff. Versus
It causes bad habits too. Like they will not break a shot unless they see like the molecules of the target.
But they paid for that magnification factor.
yeah.
They upgraded to the 6 to 24, the 5 to 25 for that.
I think those are actually downgrades because you end up with less internal adjustments. So now you can't get as far. So you just screwed yourself. Yeah.
I think you should highlight a comment here from Rob Longridge about the math of it. So just answering his question, where does the cant angle go into calculation? Like when your calculator is telling you to dial 28.4 mils to get out to 500 yards, it's already taking into consideration your zero, right? Like the distance you zeroed at. So your cant is already built into that. So for example, I have a 50 MOA rail on my CZ with the Aries ETR. So it's funny, I actually have about 28.5 mils of turret adjustment. So the cant is already built into that because my zero is at 50 yards on that base. So if my calculator is telling me to dial 28.4, I don't have to take into consideration the cant. I just dial 28.4 to get out to 500 yards.
Your calculator is telling you need 28.4.
Exactly.
Right? So if you don't have cant, you'll run out of turret before you get the 28.4.
Correct.
And
say I only had 20 mils of turret elevation, then I would dial 20 and then hold 8.4 in my reticle.
Correct.
But the canted base is already taken into consideration
right
from the beginning of it. Yeah.
Well, as long as you're zeroed with your canted base, then you don't even have to worry about your canted base.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a canted base, you will run out of elevation before you
Faster.
get to where you want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the rifle isn't anything special. The bullet, so subsonic, supersonic, that can make a difference, right? Because it gets you extra distance. It gets you extra. It decreases the amount of elevation you need, roughly, right?
Yes, absolutely. Supersonic versus subsonic is going to make a significant difference. Just as maybe a quick example, at 500 yards, if you're shooting subsonic, you're going to probably need about 28 MRADs, which is significant, I would say.
So can we define them? What is subsonic is what, like 1050 feet per second? What's supersonic?
That's a good one.
1400?
As long as it's under 1100 is generally considered
subsonic.
Right, but like Ely Force, for example, what velocity does that go out at?
It's about 1250.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
In your rifle.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends on the lot. And yours 1230-ish to somewhere pushing 1300 some lots.
Okay, so it's basically 1050 versus about 1250, we'll call it. So there's 200 feet per second difference in velocity between normal subsonic and normal high velocity.
Yeah. So your 1300s are typically considered hypervelocity, and they're running a lighter bullet. because they'd actually start blowing cases if you're going to start pushing that 40 grain in the 13s, 14s.
So let's tackle that right now. So are you recommending Cci Stingers?
Okay, so in the math, there is an advantage to running something like a CCI velociter.
Oh, the velocity.
And the reason is your drop per yard is less. If you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So from 700 yards to 701 yards, that drop difference is less. So your vertical group size is actually going to be smaller with the same extreme spreads as a standard velocity ammo. But generally speaking, your extreme spreads are going to be a fair bit higher with your velociter, stinger.
Your hypervelocity rounds.
Yeah.
So
but I would definitely be running like a Force or the SK high velocity over the standard velocity options for ELR.
Hey, John, if you're running a hyper velocity bullet that's lighter than like your standard 40 grain stuff, does it get affected by wind more easily because of its weight? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And
that's a big factor.
Because it's faster.
Yeah, that's a big factor when you're talking these distances too.
Yeah.
So
if you're trying to balance everything out, I think your 40 grain high velocity, so your 1250.
But the targets though are forgiving in windage.
Theoretically.
Because so here's the thing. So hypervelocity will get me out there, right? Whereas I could with a subsonic. So I've got a fighting chance of walking it into the wind eventually, right? Versus not making it at all. So there's a balancing act that you're gonna have to play with, and that's where the experimentation comes in. But I just want to cover Jeff's question. If you're new, how does one decide what base to use if you're buying a new scope? So I think right now the average is 40 MOA base.
Well, I would say look at your scope and take your internal elevation adjustment. If it's on a flat top, like no MOA built into your rail, it's going to be zeroed approximately halfway through the internal elevation. So just divide your internal elevation by 2, and then you can use a little bit less than that just in case.
No, you can actually add 4.5 mils.
Correct.
Oh yeah, can you?
Yes,
So that's how much bullet drop you.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's the bullet drop to get to 50.
Okay, so you can take like easily half of your internal elevation in a base.
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
I did own a whole bunch of different rifles and scopes because I wanted to see. And if you take half and add 4 mils, or 4.5 actually is the number I came up with, you're good.
Nice.
Play it safe. Add 4 mils. Yep.
So that's a safe cant that you can add with that optic.
It will not hold true with all center fire, but for rimfire, it'll work for a 50-yard zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd say the most foolproof way that's definitely not going to screw you is if your scope that you're buying is 100 MOA, then buy a cant that's 50 MOA, or
half the total elevation travel.
Exactly. That's just going to work, and it's probably what most scope men. You can only get it in 20, 30, 40, 50, so it's not like you can go to 41.75 to make it super accurate. So.
Oh, but you can dick around with the rings though.
With adjustable rings. With adjustable
rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't recommend those for zeroing reasons.
I know you don't. It has its place, Kevin.
Yeah.
Because I've got 2 pairs.
The time it really had its place with Kevin was when we did the 670-yard shot. We used his burrs rings on top of a canted rail to get our zero distance at 300 yards. And then we shot the 670-yard target.
So that's interesting then, right? So with your 50 MOA base, you could throw in a set of burst rings and add another 40.
No, 60.
60. We had almost 110 minutes of angle in our base.
Just the base and rings.
Yeah.
And then zero and whatever, because really, if you're shooting ELR,
it doesn't matter what your zero is.
Your first target is 300, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting strategy. And there's a question just on while we're on the topic of the hypervelocity. So the extended cases of some of those hypervelocity rounds sometimes will not chamber. So
Yeah, they're
be
too
careful.
long.
Yeah, they're longer than standard.
Hmm.
So that's the only thing you got to watch out for. So that's cool. So if you wanted to get into ELR, so if you know you were prepping for an ELR event, right, you could take whatever cant you've got now, which is, let's say, is going to be minimum 30, sometimes 40, could be 50, and then just get a set of Burst XTR rings for 150, 175 bucks and throw in another, max it out at another 40 MOA on there, right? Or whatever it was. Jeff's question, can you ever have too much cant in the base? Yes, you can have too much cant, and you won't be able to zero at your
Regular
preferred
50
distance.
yards.
Yeah, to regular 50 yard, which can cause problems if you're an ORPS shooter. So, yeah, that's what it affects it, because basically you bottom out the travel of the elevation, which I discovered in, what was it? I think I had too much cant. I think one of the new Voodoos came in at 40 MOA base, and I had the burst rings on there, and I couldn't zero it anymore because I think I had too much.
Yep.
If you're normally just going to be shooting, say, 300 or something yards, then I don't advocate for pushing your cant rate to the extreme with, especially your cheaper optics, because sometimes the adjustment can get a little bit fishy on the edges, and optical quality. So if you know you're going to be shooting ORPS and CRPS, this ELR stuff is stupidity anyway, then don't push the limits for no reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do a dedicated build.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I know even the Diamondback Tacticals are guilty of having sketchy tracking at the very extremes of their turret elevation. I've seen it.
That's a good point. That's a good point that I think people need to understand, or hear at least, that when you get to the extreme ends of the travel, you'll have optical issues and mechanical issues, potentially. Not always, but you could.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that when I slammed my Midas tack down to the bottom, my clicks were a little bit mushy for the first couple of clicks, and then they firmed up as I got more into the sweet spot, I guess.
So I'm trying to figure out what this Star Wars droid sounds like. Yeah. Okay. I back to an opening statement that I made, especially because I've been thinking about this ELR challenge a lot, and the fact that we're going out to 700 yards. I think if you get a scope with 40 mils of internal adjustment and say another 10 in the reticle, so if you have 50 mils of internal adjustment available and you can zero at 50 yards, you can effectively use that rifle for everything. CRPS, ELR, ORPS, whatever. And they do exist. So I think the question is, if you would you run two different bases? I don't remember where it was, but no, I probably wouldn't. If you want one rifle that does it all, just buy a rifle setup, rail and cant and whatever.
And realistically, like even if you wanted to do ELR, I don't think you even need 50 MRAD of adjustment. Like that's pretty nuts.
Well, no, you do
for 700 though.
For 700,
for 700. Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking 500.
Yeah, and that's what we're maxing out. So one of the new formats we're coming out this year is that, the king of 0.22 miles, right? Which the max target is going to be at 700, which is roughly double 0.2 miles. So that's kind of why that limit came out. So the first target's roughly going to be 350, which is 0.2 miles, and then going to 400, 500, 600, then 700. And that'll be that format. So that's kind of where we ended up bookending that. So I think over time people will get more dialed into getting to 700 eventually, as the formulas of what cant, what base, what optic, right, and how far apart the rings are, right? So do we need longer rails or shorter rails? I don't know, right? Or some scopes you can choke up on the rings and get more cant out of it with a burst. So,
yeah, I think at this point, a lot of we've kind of touched on. A lot of guys are going to get these 500s, but 700 yards is simply going to be unobtainable for majority
Correct.
at this point.
Yeah, and that's why you've got the group of ELR shooters that are going to start gravitating toward those longer range events. And again, for us, the that King of 0.22 miles is going to be wrapped around a Rimfire Nation weekend, so it'll run parallel to a whole bunch of other things. So while that ELR competition is going on, we've got demo days running that people can just have fun shooting ORPS, X22, Sniper Series, Rimfire race gun. So it's all going to be wrapped up around that. So you don't have to come out just for ELR, but if you wanted to try it out, you can see what gear is being used there. And again, we haven't scheduled it yet, but that's the concept behind it.
That's a good idea because to me, ELR is great for fun and just doing it. But I personally don't feel like it's a great match type for us right now because if no one hits the 700 yard target, it's kind of
it's meant to be fun. Question is ELR shot on bench? Nope, it's going to be prone. It's a prone match, a prone position, and that's why we kind of will bring it up, wrap it around a Rimfire Nation weekend where everything is going on, and we've got this mini ELR match that's going on. But people could also try ELR as a fun. Here's some demo rifles because we are going to have some demo setups. We've got 2 March scopes coming, and then we've got all of the donated loaner rifles from. The Rimex, the Voodoos, the Deuce, the Ultimatum Deuce. So there's opportunities for you to try it out, and we'll have them dialed in so that you technically should be able to hit the target at 700 yards, right? So one of those or a couple of those will be set up with maybe a Kevin Periscope or a Charlie Tarak or something like that.
So another option for being able to actually get the 700 yards is an adjustable base. And the air attack is probably not going to have enough for most guys because it's only got 70 MOA. But there is not a lot of options currently that are designed around 22. So I've been working on a little project here to give me a canted base so I can go from a 50-yard zero to essentially a 300 or 400-yard zero, and then torque it down and shoot the patch.
Can you make that full screen, Rick?
Yeah, or John. So it's going to be like a John G production.
Well, I am actually discussing it with one of my neighbors. He shoots too. He has an initial design drawn up for something that would be geared around 22. And maybe there's something we can create that is relatively economical and yet repeatable. So guys can use for 22. And the idea here is I can clamp this on my 40 MOA rail on my rifle, pull my scope off, drop my scope on here, and shoot an ELR event because I'm going to re-zero with it all the way down. And after the ELR event, I can just pop this out and put my scope back on and be perfectly set up for CRPS.
Nice.
So this is simply just an Amazon piece. It's meant to be strictly an adjustable straight up and down for like mounting a flashlight or something like that. And I've modified it, put a pin in the front, and drilled some. I'm not sure if we can show this. You can see the hole right there. So I can put a pin in. That's my 44 mil hole. Then I got a hole back here. This is my 20 mil hole. And all the way up I have 68. So it's a little bit finicky. You got to be a bit of a tinker to make something like this work.
Yeah.
But it is possible. You're going to have to measure out exactly, like if you drill a hole and have a pin, you're going to have to measure yourself exactly how much elevation change you have. And also you're going to probably have to account for some windage change. And I know, Jeff, you say cold shot, and well, there is some options, but they won't ship them up here to Canada. And then some of them are very expensive. So that's going to be a hindrance for guys that are wanting to shoot 22 because it's economical, right?
Yeah, that was one of the huge walls Kevin and I hit when we wanted to shoot 1,000 yards, was trying to find an adjustable base. It was impossible. Like all of them, A, they're all like over $1,000, and B, very few of them were available in Canada. So that's why Kevin ended up making his own.
Yeah. So why don't you just get a fixed base? Why do you need an adjustable base?
Most of the ELR stuff are adjustable.
Yeah, but why would you need one though? Why wouldn't you just go with a fixed cat base? Like add an extra 50 on there, and
I would say because then you basically pigeonholed that device for ELR.
Yeah.
If you put in a 200 MOA rail, well now your zero is going to be at the 200 MOA plus or minus whatever you have adjustment in your scope. So you're basically going to be good from like 300 to 800 yards or 300 to.
Yep.
You've eliminated the functionality of that.
But for this game, which is 300 to 800, it'll work.
I would,
right?
yeah, I would agree.
Like, so if someone wants to get into the ELR game just for that weekend,
yeah,
right,
they'd get a fixed base, bolt it on, mount the optic, zero it. I mean, you have to know roughly where it's going to end up, because at this point, you don't know where it's going to be, right?
Mm-hmm. But
you have a very big zeroing board at 50 yards, because you'd be essentially zeroing at 300 then.
Oh yeah, so what you could do is basically you could zero at 50 with holdovers.
Yeah. With impact above point of aim.
Exactly.
Of a dome, you would measure like at 50. I don't know. I'm just gonna make up. At 50, you want to be 26 inches over the impact.
It's a reverse tall target.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But you'd still, like from 300 to 700, you're still going to need like 38 mils. So you will be maxed out to use
100 MOA
setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be theoretically doable.
You're going to have to be zeroed at 300.
Yes.
And that's going to have to be at the very bottom elevation of your whatever scope device you have. And then you're going to need 40 more mils to get out to 700, and which is possible.
Yeah. So that could work. I mean, that's from a cost-effective perspective, having a fixed 100 MOA base would solve the problem, right?
Yeah, I don't know if 100 MOA is the number, but some fixed base.
Something, whatever comes out to be.
10 or 11 mils.
Yeah.
11 mils
so
with high velocity.
Yeah, that's right. I would say so.
Which if you were to have a quality made wedge, because that's what it would be. It would be this type of an idea where you're going to clamp it on with a built-in 11 mils or whatever.
Yeah.
You should, with a proper procedure of mounting, be able to have a repeatable zero. So you should be able to go from a CRPS match and pull your scope off, put your wedge on exactly the same as when you zeroed, put your scope on, all your scope, and be within a couple tens.
Correct.
And
it's an additional wedge. What I was trying to avoid was that whole variability of adjustable wedge. Just this is the wedge. You have a quick release, or you bolt it on, then you bolt your optic on top of that. So you've got rail, wedge, and then rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was just trying to figure it out here. Maybe talking 11 mils. At 50 yards, you'd be 19.8 inches above. So you actually could do it on.
You could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do it. This is interesting.
So where is that 50? Or I mean that wedge, and so my neighbor here. That's actually something he created one for himself already.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's just an adder, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need. Yeah. Right, and that'll get you 300 to 700.
Yeah,
which is perfect. Which is all we need for that weekend. So you could sell them to guys, right? There's a little zeroing station that they could try it out. 50 with a 20-inch, impact area. So aim here, make sure where your impact is, zero it, and then you're off to the races.
And you could
$200.
Yeah, I personally don't think that's ideal. Like if we can create something that is adjustable And maybe that's what you will do. You're going to adjust it, you're going to clamp it, and that's how you're going to use
Something.
it. Okay.
I just want to eliminate moving parts and keep it simple, right? For guys, just say, hey, I just want to try it out. It's like, $100, $150, right? It mounts to a pick rail, and then I clamp my base to it. I'm good to go. I just have to figure out where my zero is now, or exactly how much do I need, right? So maybe you have like 3 different options, depending on fine tuning.
The other thing would be to look at the Night Force wedge, particularly if you have a night vision bridge.
Yeah,
I haven't looked into them, so I don't know what they cost in Canada. I don't have a bridge.
The what's the bridge?
Like you need a
full cover.
On, right?
Yeah, Matt's already got his set up for.
Yeah.
The Night Force wedge is expensive. They're around $1,500 US.
Oh, really? So we're basically in a Charlie track. Well, not quite, but
I looked up after watching a video from Mike and Sam after work. Mark
and Sam. Yeah.
That he talked about the wedge, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen that before. And
that guy's a big Night Force fan, by the way.
Yeah. Well, anyways, the price is basically Charlie Tarak territory, but it doesn't. Yeah. The utility of it doesn't even come close to the Charlie Tarak.
Yeah. Just while we're on the topic. So Scott had a question: will there be restrictions on equipment? There is no restriction on equipment in the King of 0.22 miles because it's all about the equipment at that point.
Yeah, ELR is very niche, first of all, and all the equipment is pretty expensive when you compare it to regular like PRS shooting stuff.
Interesting though, like what about bipods and mounts and things like that? So that's where I'm still not 100% on how much to limit the bipods and the rests.
I mean, if it's more of a fun event, like who cares? Just do whatever.
I don't think the bipods and the rest are going to make any difference. The $50 to $100 to the $200 that a bipod is going to cost is insignificant in comparison to the rest of the stuff you need to put together. I also think ELR as a whole is very much not skill based, especially in.
That was fighting words, Kevin.
No, it is. Like 22, I think is predictable out to maybe 300, 400, 500 yards. Beyond that distance, like you're basically guessing as to how much wind you have to hold.
And you need to be able to see your misses to correct. If you're shooting into a grassy plain, there's no way you're going to hit anything. So this is what Kevin and I were talking about. Like people asked us, like, why'd you even do 1,000 yards? Like, what's the point of that? You're not practicing for anything. It's not practical. We're like, yeah, totally. It's not. The only reason why we did it is because it's cool. Now we can say we did it. Like it's really more about your commitment to a cause than it is about skill. Like we just want to see if we could do it. Right. Yeah. Like Kevin mentioned, the skill base, as long as you can pull off a shot without jerking your gun like a complete donkey, you can do it, right? Like, and you just need a good spotter. That's essentially all you need, and you need to know how to correct your misses.
Like,
that's
what
ELR is.
How do you even see your misses at that range?
Yeah, and we're talking about rimfire here, obviously, right? Like centerfire ELR is a different game, but for rimfire, like it's more about.
We have to shoot on water.
Exactly. Yeah. Something like that. You can see your misses very easily.
Just to answer Alex's question. Yeah. 700 yards is the max range for King of 0.22 mile. It is the limit. It's actually beyond the limit. It's beyond the practical limit for most equipment. So it's attainable for those guys that commit to it or have the John G max wedge. Just call it the wedgie. Call it the wedgie, John.
There you go.
That's a good one. You got your wedgie? And you should have them all Sierra coated in yellow.
Yeah. Someone asked the question was subsonic versus high velocity. That's an old wives' fable, so just move on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And you'll find people that have said they've proven one way, and you'll find people that have proven the other way. But the most scientific tests on that have proven it does not matter. So you have to actually be faster than transonic for there to even be any valid argument to this. And so we don't really have 22 animals starting at 1,500 feet per second. So there is no scientific backing to the argument that 1,300 feet per second ammo will be affected. So anyway.
Are you telling me that guys that post single 3-shot groups that are sub MOA all day also don't have conclusive evidence?
I love that. Look at my 0.1 inch group.
Yeah,
There's only one hole in the paper.
All day long.
I've built my whole match strategy around those 3-shot groups, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? That's their game. Their game is 3-shot group posting, right? That's their game.
So with my perfect fundamentals and shooting off a rock steady tripod, my group size at 1,000 yards was probably like 60 meters. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like it was insane. Like Kevin, how many hits we get? 6 or 7? 7 hits, I think, at 1,000 yards.
7.
So of the 7 hits we got, I was holding the same for the past like 50 rounds. You know what I mean? Like it's just the spread of that ammo, which we were using subsonic rifle match, was like insane. It was like 50 meters. Like I'm holding the same hold the entire time. You're just hoping that one of them lands on your target at that point, right?
You know what would have been interesting also? Like, would Ely Force have made a difference?
Yeah,
With
so
being supersonic, right?
I'm
and
not
heavier.
sure if Scott's question was that, or if he's talking about the accuracy at 50 yards. At 50 yards, subsonic, supersonic, doesn't matter. It makes absolutely no difference. At 1,000, I would say it would. And John already touched on the point earlier. It's the bullet is falling less fast, so you're more likely to have less vertical spread the faster your bullet. If you have a laser of a bullet, well, it's not dropping at all, so your vertical spread's going to be absolutely nothing. But our vertical spread at 1,000 yards was like
insane.
20 meters, because we had some bullets landing 20 yards ahead of the target and some 20 after the target. So
with the same hold, and it's funny because our windage was within like half of that. Like it was probably within 10 yards, but it was the vertical disparity between the rounds that was causing us to be before or behind the target.
Yeah. So
who we should have on the line is Guy Desbiens from Lab Radar. Just say, do you have equipment that can tell me where my bullet went?
Yeah,
right.
That's honestly such a good. That would be a game changer. But
can he track where it went? I know he tracks velocity at distance, but can he tell me on this map where it went without an impact?
If he could, Applied Ballistics would be running it at King of 2 Mile, but they're not. They are running equipment though to track where the bullet is going. You can do that with heat partially, and they are always running. Well, I guess Lab Radar makes it, whatever, but I'm not sure what they call it.
Those big ass Doppler things.
When they shoot,
towers,
they can track their velocity so far, and see what's going on. Yeah, but no, they can't tell where the bullet went, because seeing misses in the King of 2 Mile is actually an issue, and that's why a lot of guys are running heavier calibers, because it creates a bigger splash rate. So it's not just the rimfire guys that are going to have an issue with seeing their impacts.
Robert Gordon says you can get acoustic sensors at the target. That sounds fancy.
Yeah, it sounds pretty.
I don't know if it has to be supersonic though, Robert, because I talked to someone that has those acoustical targets, because I wanted to do that instead of for scoring paper. Yeah, it would actually end up scoring your target for you.
Oh, sorry. Are you saying you need supersonic ammo to trigger the acoustic sensor? Is that what you're saying?
No, the one I was looking at.
Oh, I see.
Needed supersonic. It had to be supersonic at impact.
Yeah, I understand.
Wow. Yeah, I can guarantee you our rifle match was not supersonic at impact at 1,000 yards.
It was tumbling rock sonic.
Here, I'll show you the bullet now. I'll show you the bullet.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
What's below subsonic?
Yeah, I'll show you. So this is I'm just using this as a background so my camera can focus, but this is a unobstructed rifle match bullet. So that's what it looks like at 670 yards. Oh gosh, I don't know how to hold this properly. This is the mushrooming we got So that's at just shy of 700 yards. This was actually a Ely Force bullet. And at 1,000 yards, this
That didn't go through the target at 1,000 yards?
No. This was our 1,000-yard impact.
Yeah, so the only thing is hold it in the orientation, it would actually hit the target.
Sorry, give me a second. It's hard to hold. Would it be like this?
Nope. It would be at the angle it left the barrel. Like that. That's how the bullet hits the target.
So we assumed it was the other way because we thought it was coming downwards.
Yeah.
But it's actually, here, let me use this bullet as a demonstration. Actually, you know what? If this is the bullet, when it's hitting the 1,000-yard target, it's actually coming in like that. Not
it's
like
dropping.
This. Yeah, it's dropping like this.
The bullet's always aiming in the same axis as it leaves the barrel. So
yeah, we didn't know that at the time.
Only if it's very stabilized. So a almost not stabilized bullet will actually change with the arc.
So what do you think this one was? Do you think this one was stabilized or not stabilized?
So a 1 in 16 twist is barely, it's not over stabilizing your 22 bullet. So I don't
think it hit the target
like this? I think it will have followed the arc because faster twist is definitely improving long range accuracy. It's because it's more stable. And what we're going to potentially run into there is it will not follow the arc. So with your running really high weight, long, like talking center fire now, super stabilizing the bullet is actually detrimental for ELR. And running on the bottom end of stable is actually better because when your bullet makes the transition from supersonic, it's running straight with the direction it's traveling, and it's not hitting it on an angle, and then it's not as disrupted.
Okay, that's very interesting. I didn't know that.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that's very possible. I don't know much about terminal ballistics or whatever. I think I found this out like 3 months ago. I was talking to Robert, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, bullets stay like this," and I'm just like,
"Yeah, we did not know that." So I don't know. I don't know if it was coming in like this or coming in like that. But what was very interesting was we found 6 of the 7 impacts that we made at 1,000 yards, and the flat angle relative to how the bullet hit is the same on all of them. So it was consistent. I don't know if it was coming, which way it was coming in, what angle it was doing, but they're all the same. So it seems like the 16-inch twist barrel was consistent at 1,000 yards. We just don't know,
Well, the bullet may not have been tumbling because your 22 bullet design actually doesn't fly too bad
when it's not even being stabilized.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to be tumbling as much as like a VLD would.
Interesting.
But what you're saying there, Kevin, is 100% true. Like your typical center fire running faster twists is 100% going to your angle of attack. Yes, that is very true. That's 100%.
Give me a second here. I'm going to show you how consistent the angle was. I'm just laying them on a ruler. I hope I don't drop it. This is going to be totally a waste of time if I drop it.
Hang on, let me zoom in, buddy.
Do you see how consistent that is? Yeah. Like they all hit the target at roughly the exact same angle, right?
That's awesome.
So these are 6 of the 7 bullets that we found after hitting 1,000 yards. So you can see how consistent that is, right?
So guys, you realize that is the only collection of 22 rounds impacted at 1,000 yards in the world.
Well, Mark and Sam after work might have their own collection. They're just not sharing.
Yeah,
that's true. How about this? All your viewers, I'll give you a friend price. You want to buy one of these? It's $1,000 each. One for each yard it traveled.
1 of 7. It's a limited edition.
1 of 6. We couldn't find the 7th one.
Oh, that one's like the rare. That's gonna come back to be worth millions. So while we're on the topic of the fast twist, so Alex and Andre have been playing around with this, and it looks like he's getting another 85. I don't know if that's yards or meters, probably yards, with a fast twist with the same.
Interesting.
Same elevation.
I think Andre, Alex, and Jesse as well. I think all of them are going to be transitioning to a 1 in 12 twist. And I think Jesse asked a question earlier saying, "What's the scoop? What's your opinion on barrel twist?" I think John's the best one to talk about this one because
I have no experience.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to assume that the difference that they're getting, they've never confirmed it 700 yards, and I do not believe you will see a difference in needed elevation. There is no evidence that for sure backs up overstabilizing a bullet is going to gain you BC. If the bullet is destabilizing and it's getting a yaw, then yes, it's going to affect the BC, and maybe we'll see that at 700 yards. But the only people that I know of who say they have increased their BC by running a 1 in 12, 1 in 9, you name it, have never come up with any evidence. So that tells me that perhaps the lot of ammo that they are shooting takes a little less elevation than the lot they had before. They can't prove it. They don't really know. Otherwise, we could prove this.
We will prove it soon, John.
What will do is it does increase the stability, and you will have less flyers. And this is not just Ryan at IBI saying this. Ryan did extensive testing on it, and I've talked to him a fair bit. And it's not even a question, but he is not the only guy. There are numerous other people who have done a lot of testing on ELR, and 1 in 12 may not be perfect for every barrel manufacturer, but it's going to get you in the ballpark. Right. And at this point, let's just say get a 1 in 12 and be done with it. It's going to get you most of the gains very easily.
Are you switching to 1 in 12, John?
Yes.
Yeah. For all your rifles? All your rifles?
We'll see.
At least one. Getting at least one.
Yeah.
How beneficial is it within 300 yards, like CRPS distances?
Okay, when you're talking CRPS, there's so many other factors that are involved. Don't even worry about it. It's kind of, yes, your 300-yard groups will be smaller. Should be smaller, I would say.
What order of magnitude? Like, are we talking 12-inch versus 13-inch? Are we talking 6-inch versus 12-inch? You know, like what?
I think it's
probably 6 versus. Well, it depends, I guess, on what your rifle's shooting. Mm-hmm. I don't think you'll cut it in half consistently.
Okay.
It depends. There's some very good shooting 1 in 16 twists.
But do you think it's going to be potentially that order of magnitude?
I would be surprised. You'll see 12 to 8-inch at 300. Well, there's some very small 300-yard groups out there that guys are documenting, and they are running in the neighborhood of a 1 in 12 twist. And out to 600 yards as well, running some very, very pretty little groups.
And that's why I'm not on the podium, because I don't have a 1 in 12.
But the thing is, when you start like 200 yards, like I have a 1 in 16 right now, and I can shoot sub 2 MOA with 20-shot groups. A 1 in 12 is going to shoot right about the same. So at 200 yards, there really is no gains. At 300 yards, the gains will start to show. It's for this ELR where it's really going to show itself. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's going to be an improved BC, but it'd be fun to be proven wrong. But there, I haven't seen any evidence.
For the typical CRPS match, there's maybe 1 or 2 stages that go past 250, right? It's not significant.
And usually those plates are absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I think a 300-yard target is always a full-size IPSC.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to be worse. So it's actually beneficial to shoot 1 in 16, so your shotgun spread's bigger, so you have a better chance of hitting the target. Because if you're more accurate and you're off, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be.
If you don't have good dope, it's better to run a 1 in 16 twist.
Exactly. So that's the decision tree. How good's your dope? If you're not confident, use the 1 in 16.
That is so funny.
Yes. So the 1 in 9, Alex. We have not seen any evidence yet. He talks about it, but Mike Bush is not known to just blow smoke. So I expect he will show us when he's ready that the 1 in 9 is the way to go. But the thing is, it's going to be for his barrel internal profile and rifling. design. So while he may be getting optimal results with a 1 in 9, if you're running, say, an IBI or Bartlett or whatever, the optimal perfect, if you're splitting hairs, twist is not necessarily going to be a 1 in 9. And the other thing is with a 1 in 9, a majority of the guys that I've had conversation with who have tested 1 in 9 have found that when you have a flyer, it's significantly out of your group. So you have a beautiful group and you have a flyer. Whereas with the 1 in 12, those flyers don't go as extreme. And that's totally mathematical, because if you have a bullet that's not balanced and you really spin it, then you're actually going to create a corkscrew effect, and that'll throw it out of the group.
I was reading that apparently the best one is 1 in 10.1726.
Yeah. Okay, there.
I'm sure 2 years from now we will know for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, also keep in mind there's so many other factors, like what John was mentioning. Besides your twist, there's your chamber size, right? Like your head spacing with your ammo. There's your ammo, the bullet, whatever, the rifling. There's so many different factors. I think it won't be a one size fits all, But
so Facebook user there. Thanks. I think it's probably Ryan or Alex.
Yeah, that's Ryan.
So 11-inch to 7-inch, and he has done a lot of testing on that. So I'm prepared to go with it. And he said, 300 meters. I think he did everything in meters.
I mean, you're not going to shoot worse with a 1 in 12, right?
No.
It's not going to be worse than your 1 in 16. So why wouldn't you do it?
You might not see just the 1 in 12 game, but take a 1 in 12, add in custom barrel, and just sees out of good barrels, okay? So add in a bunch of little gains and stack it all together. You can actually have a significant difference.
Yeah.
And so I was out with my wife today shooting, and she's gone through the process. She shoots my rifle, and to her, who doesn't shoot a lot, she really notices the difference. But that's because she's shooting this and then she shoots to this, and all those marginal gains are stacked together. So it can be very hard sometimes to just take a little, just this, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stack it all together, and you don't really know where it came from, but it's here.
Yeah.
I have a question about the 1 in 12 twist, John, since you have the experience with it. Do you notice a material difference in spin drift at 300 yards between the two? A 16 twist and a 12 twist? Is a 12 twist giving you a lot more spin drift, or? I
don't even worry about it. Or okay, I don't worry about spin drift a lot. It exists, and I've seen that, but I just go by what the calculator says. If it wants another 10th, I give it another 10th. I wouldn't worry about it. But at 1 in 12, you're not actually significantly over-stabilizing the bullet, so you don't have a huge wind drift. But if your spin drift is tied to your stability of your bullet, and so you go to a 1 in 9 or something like that, you are excessively stabilizing the bullet, so your spin drift is much more. And I'm not personally prepared to go with that much spin drift. I forget what it was. I figured out at 300 yards, 0.7 or 0.8 mils, I want to say, with 1 in 9. But because that messes up my right and left crosswind now. Now I'm actually going to have to hold left. I'm going to have to hold left, because my bullet's gone so far right. Even when I have a wind, when in my mind I think I should be holding right. If you're just running your small little tailwinds, I'm not quite ready for that. For CRPS, not interested.
Sorry, I see what you mean. Even if it's a right to left wind, you're going to still be holding left because of your wind drift if it's a slight wind.
Yeah, if you have an excessive.
Yeah, which is very counterintuitive. Okay.
Yeah, but at a 1 in 12, we're not excessively stabilizing the bullet yet. Okay. And there's different ways to. Anyway, we're getting weeds here.
So bring it back to ELR though. So 1 in 12 is helpful. Does barrel length matter now with a 1 in 12? 1 in 16, there was some stabilization effect of that longer in barrel time at the cost of
John is just going to say run a 26-inch barrel. There is no other option.
Or longer.
or longer.
So that's a whole topic. I am in the process of still testing, and
Is it encouraging at this point or too early to say?
All I can say is I've heard longer is better.
okay, so if you if we're talking accuracy, so precision, groups
For ELR, we're talking ELR game here. This is the ELR game.
we're gonna have to split this a little bit there, Rick. So if we're talking groups, it is theoretically, mathematically, so whatever. There's an optimal barrel length for a velocity. So numerous guys have tested this.
Yeah.
And somewhere in that around 20 inches, 22 to 20 inches, seems to be an optimal length for group size. If we're talking
For 1 and 16.
or 1 and 12, it's all the same.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Same. Okay.
But we're simply talking group size. When we start going long, all of the data that I can put together, and guys that, yes, Rob, and all of the guys
No
who
tuners.
have published what they have done for barrel testing, taking a specific barrel and cutting it down.
Yeah.
Beyond 26 inches, you gain in less extreme spreads and smaller SDs. 26 is better than 24, is better than 22, is better than 20. And it would seem with some guys' results, somewhere around 16, it's better again. So it gets worse and then it gets better. Is it an anomaly? I don't know. But if you chart out multiple barrels from 26 down or 27 down, the longer barrels on average are going to give you more consistent velocities with most ammo. There's always going to be anomalies. And
I'm just going to step in here and say the most important thing for ELR, if you want to hit the target, is you have to have a good spotter.
yeah.
It doesn't matter anything else. You just need a good spotter, and they have to tell you how to correct your shot. That's it.
But that velocity spread is going to affect the long range more than the 200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking two different things here.
Yeah.
Your 200-yard group size is probably going to be better with the shorter barrel because of harmonics. The longer barrel potentially will be better because of velocity spreads, and they're more tunable. So
Interesting.
I'm not going to say what I think is best because I'm going to wait till I'm done. I know what Ryan thinks, and I believe he's right because I know numerous other guys that have come to the same conclusion with no tuners.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you're looking, so in that sense, we're back up. So what should guys do? You want to build a rifle, you're going to shoot CRPS, you're going to do a little bit of ELR. You're probably best off with the 20, 22-inch barrel if you can get it to balance.
But if the guy was doing strictly an ELR, he's building an ELR dedicated rig.
I would go long, personally. I
32
don't personally
inch.
have proof of all this yet, but from what I can gather from other guys, 27, 28 inches low.
I think the length, the advantage alone of the length is the fact that it's going to balance a lot better with your rifle.
Yeah,
And-
for
and
CRPS, definitely.
For positional shooting. So I guess my question, John, is do you think there's any disadvantage to a long barrel? Like,
CRPS?
sure. We're going to say
If you go 30 inches, like my 6mm is a 30-inch plus a break. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. 26, 28, no. I never think of it.
So you don't think
I got the arm length, right?
But will that affect, does that increase your spin rate? Or no? It's the same.
Reduces my velocity.
Okay.
Very, very slightly.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 feet per second or something.
But it reduces the velocity, but you get more consistent velocity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. Like putting it in and out of ports, since you're tall and you have the arm length, that's fine. But someone like Rick, if he tried to use a 26-inch barrel, he'd be smashing it up the front of every port he tries to go in and out of, right? So
I'd have to take a running start to pull it out, you know?
Yeah, it's like a pole vaulter trying to.
Yeah, that's it.
That's interesting though. I don't know. I don't, for that reason alone, only because rifle balance. Like my rifle looks ridiculous because the amount of weights I have on it. But if I had a nice long barrel, I wouldn't suffer that problem. You know?
It would weigh the same though, wouldn't it? Oh no, because you've got more weight at the far end.
Yeah, I would have more weight further forward, so it would actually weigh less.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's hard to do that with the MTR because the barrel is so much thinner than one of the 700 footprint rifles, right?
Anyways, that's off topic. It's
No, it's ELR.
Yeah. Slow. Scott was wondering about barrel, like the velocity loss. This depends on your ammo. Lapua would tend to lose velocity faster than something like Ely. But if you chart out a whole bunch of different ammo, it's not as much as people think. And usually when people talk about a 16-inch barrel being optimal, they're thinking like a 10-22 or semi-automatic. Can't talk tonight. Semi-automatic. And around 16 inches is the time when your bolt actually starts to open. And that's when you lose your pressure behind the bullet. So it's no longer going to increase in velocity. But when we go to a bolt rifle, it's different. And you're about 26 inches is when the pressure behind the bullet and the friction equals out. If I explain myself right. And that is why it would seem that a 27-inch barrel is going to give you smaller extreme spreads than a 26-inch barrel. And the other thing is your pressure behind the bullet when the bullet is released is less, so you don't actually have the gases passing the bullet, and it should lend to having a more stable release of your bullet. So yes, there is some velocity loss, but it's actually very small if you start looking at averages.
Okay.
Not something to worry about.
Yeah,
That's
Anyway.
a lot to think about.
as far as theoretical explanations go, John definitely has this topic like under control.
I thoroughly enjoy it, and actually it goes way before 22. This fascination, and with 22 coming in, I've had to learn a lot of things differently and look at a lot of things differently. Challenge some of what I believed was true, and a lot of these old wise fables that you read online, there's nothing to back them up. And if you start questioning, you say this, why? Oh, because so-and-so said this. Oh, they read it in this magazine. Well, this guy, and there is no proof. So I always go digging to find out why. Why does this stuff happen? There has to be a scientific explanation for it, right? And you'll find a majority of the stuff is just, it's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing to do is get out and shoot. And I think we can talk gear all night. You can have the perfect setup. I think that answers the question, or where I'm going.
Yeah.
So if we talk a 4-foot plate at 700 yards, we have 2 mile an hour of wind on that plate. How good can you estimate wind? I have a 12-inch plate at 300 yards that I shoot at regular here. Most of the reason, or I shoot at it, is wind, and that gives me 1 MOA. So I have it's 1.1 MOA. I have right around 3 mile an hour of wind on that plate, and I cannot go out every single time and hit that with plate first shot.
How wide is that plate?
12 inches.
Okay, so 3 MOA.
MOA, my bad. Mils, 1.1 mils.
4 MOA, or okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely losing my mind. Yeah, so that gives me about 3 miles per hour on that plate. So it'll hold a 6 to 9 mile an hour wind. So my goal is to go out and hit that first round. and I don't get it every time. But that's 3 miles per hour. Now take 700 yards and 2 miles per hour. I don't think many of us, I know I'm to take a 2 mile an hour change. If I'm hyper focused, I'll catch it. But if there's anything going against me, I won't catch that. And that puts me that takes me from off the plate here to off the plate on the other side.
Mm-hmm. I can tell the difference between 0 miles per hour and 10.
I'll get you the ballpark, right? So this book, I just read it. I have done a lot of thinking on wind and a lot of working on wind personally. I haven't read any books on wind, I will admit. And I have a hard time explaining how I figure some of the stuff out. That book was a good read because it helped me put together what I'm thinking. And I would highly recommend it. If you're starting out, you want to learn wind, it's going to jumpstart you on the process, the thinking, because you have to have a process.
Mm-hmm. For those that are listening, audio podcast, it's the Wind Book for Rifle Shooters by Linda Cunningham and Linda Miller and Keith Cunningham.
Yeah. It was excellent. It was worth it for sure. Yeah. Yep.
Big sponsors. We'll have some of their books at the prize tables. There's that book, and the Secrets of Mental Marksmanship is the other book that is a must have for any competitive person. Never mind shooter, just competitive person.
Yeah, Kevin and I were lucky because the day we went to do the 1,000-yard shot was pretty calm in terms of wind. I think if there was any sort of substantial gust, it would have been much more difficult, if at all possible. I don't know.
Yeah. And then it's funny, Rob Long said something here. Long Ridge said go sailing. You learn how to read wind and stuff sailing. He's absolutely right. My parents sail, and my dad knows how to read wind just based on how it passes his ears. Like he can close his eyes and tell you what direction the wind is coming from. It's quite impressive.
So Rob loves expensive hobbies.
Yeah, apparently.
Is he the guy that has the on shoots too, or who is that?
No, that's Kareem.
Oh yeah.
Rob is a new competitor this year. He was in the mentor program at Warren Field.
Yep.
Because Kevin was a mentor.
He's from around here. Oh,
yeah. Alex is saying, Linda and Keith were on the Slamfire last week.
Okay.
So if you want to hear more about what they're up to, have a listen. But,
very nice.
We're going to get them on the podcast as well.
Rob Longridge is a pirate. Apparently he steals other people's boats.
That's the way to do it, Rob.
Great minds think alike.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll just shoot other people's guns. I'll just hot gun it all year. I'll just shoot.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing with all the sponsor rifles.
No, but I need I need to copy someone else's dope also. That's what I don't have.
Yeah.
So that's what I need. Yeah. Did you ever watch the What Kind of Shooter Are You? I'm the Mr. Takes a Village.
Yeah, those are funny. The different types of shooters and stuff.
Yeah. And they're all out there. What else? Any other topics? So in terms of format, the way that we're going to run the King of 0.2 miles, it's basically 3 out of 10. You got to connect 3 out of 10 shots within a certain time limit to move to the next one. So it's not outrageous. It's really just fun. How far can you go before you get knocked out by missing more than 7? So it's not quite as intense. And that'll be for this year. And at the end of the year, we'll see kind of where it goes. So everyone starts at 300, then you do 350, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and 7.
What maybe I don't know if we covered it, Rick. What are the targets? So you're going to start at 350, which is your 0.22 mile. What's your target size?
I can't remember. The 700 is a 4-foot.
Okay.
600 is a 3-foot. 500 is a 30-inch.
Okay.
400 is a 24.
Yeah.
And I think at 350 will be a full-size IPSC.
So 18.
I think
18 inches.
18 by 44.
So 18 at 350, 18 then 24, then 30, then 3 feet,
36.
4 feet, 5.
4 feet's the max.
4 feet's the
4
max.
feet's the max. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's the target. That's basically what you have to aim for. Is 18 inches up to 4 feet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Scott's asking, is our date and location now? We're there's this pandemic going around that's kind of killed all of our scheduling and people wanting to talk to us about booking stuff. So Scott, we are still looking. We do plan to have one in the west and one in the east. So hopefully one of those will appeal to you. So we are looking for looking up workup challenges for extra shots. Oh, the Queen of the Mile, yeah. Yes. Rob was saying.
At 350 yards, you'll have 4 mile an hour on the plate. And for reference, the matches that I have here averaged 2.8 mile per hour on the plate last year.
Sorry,
easier.
Can you define that a little bit, John? When you say you have 4 miles per hour on the plate, you mean you can be, as long as you're reading within 4 miles per hour of accuracy, you'll hit it?
Within 2.
Within 2.
So I guess the way I would always do wind is I go out, okay, I got a 4 to 7 mile per hour wind. So my low is 4, my high is 7.
Yeah.
So that's 3 mile per hour. So if I hold my low wind on the side of the plate and my high wind on the side of the plate, then anywhere in there it's going to fit.
Okay.
Well, except for group size.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But you know, if you had a perfect one whole group, then it'll always fit on the plate. So I actually take that bracket then, and if we're on the low part, then I'm going to slide it over so my group. I still want to hit on the low side of the plate, because if a gust comes up and I don't catch it, it's going to push it to the other side. I don't want to be centered if I have the low wind. So that I always think of plates in mile per hour size. Yeah. Which 4 mils, because it's totally convertible to me. But
can you quickly tell me how many mile per hour the 4 foot target at 700 yards would be approximately?
2 mile per hour.
That's 2 mile per hour. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be a very difficult plate to.
Yeah. Today, Kevin and I were shooting like what felt like a half mile per hour target at what was it, 156 yards? It was like a tiny target.
Yeah, it was. I don't quite grasp this mile per hour system, but we were shooting 150 yards, and it was 2 inches, so it was small.
Yeah.
2 inches. So, 150.
So if you had a 5 mile per hour target, essentially if the wind was anywhere between, let's say, 0 and 5 mile per hour, you could bracket it entirely on the target. That's what
100%. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's understood. That's what a 5 mile per hour means. Between 0 and 5, you're still going to hit the target if you.
Yeah. Okay. Or 5 to 10, or 10 to 15, or
Right. Yeah, you have to.
So you're using your low and high bracket, and it can fit on the plate. You know.
Hopefully it fits on the plate.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Sometimes it won't.
And I have used that up to at 200 yards. I was holding 5.5 mils to center, 5.5 to 6 mils, and I did first round impact using that system bracketing. Okay. I've never had wind that high again that I was shooting, but often with your really high wind, your wind brackets tend to be smaller if you have a constant. Well, around here anyway, it's different everywhere, but for me, I have constant winds if it's really high. Yeah.
I think we should move on from this subject because it might get complicated, but I'm very interested to learn more about it. I'm actually very interested because it sounds.
Yeah.
Anything that John is excited or knowledge about is complicated.
Thanks,
John doesn't do any easy things, man, but it works.
It sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk, Kevin. Even though I still,
Yeah, just don't lie to me, okay? On the phone.
He just won't tell you everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
No.
He may accidentally omit information.
Right.
I think Donna's video explains the mile per hour target size somewhere.
Yeah, I would do exactly.
Yeah. So Ginger Ronan on YouTube.
Yeah, so like Kevin, if you think the wind is only gusting from 6 to 9 miles per hour, you have a 3 mile per hour bracket, right? If your target size is 3 mile per hour, theoretically, you can fit your entire bracket on the target, and that would be
what I don't understand what you're saying is if your target is 3 mile per hour.
If it fits in your, like, depending on the distance and the size of the target.
Exactly. It depends on the distance and the size of the target.
Yes,
just for really fast, how I actually do it, Kevin. So if I have a plate that is 1 mil at 300 yards, at 300 yards, you have approximately 0.3 mils of drift per mile per hour of wind. It's slightly more. But approximately 0.3. Easy. I think I want easy math so I can do it really fast.
That's right.
3 miles per hour. So that means I can get 3 miles per hour. It's going to be slightly over 0.9 mils. So it's going to be almost 1 mils.
Yeah.
So that'll fit on a 1 mil plate.
Understood.
Yeah.
So that 1 mil plate would be approximately a 3 mile per hour target size.
Yeah. To me, that's a 3 mile per hour target size. So. Go to the Warrenfield map. We're not talking ELR, are we?
No.
I mean, it's relatable. It is relatable.
It relates. It's because we started with a 700-yard target.
Yeah. So tailwinds at the
Brutal.
Kevin, you were there. Those tailwinds at the Warrenfield match this spring.
Yeah.
The far targets were easier to hit because they were so wide.
I believe that.
And then you got these little bitty targets at 150 yards that are hard to hit because you only had 2 mile per hour wind on it. Then you go out to the big target out there, you kind of
no problem.
Yeah.
So, I'm not puzzled at the bracketing method. I understand.
You're wondering why I'm calling it a 3 mile an hour plate.
It's the way that you defined your width of target in miles per hour. That's the part that's puzzling to me.
Wait, so here's another example, Kevin. If you take the same target at 100 yards, which was 1 mil wide approximately, but it's still a 3 mile per hour plate. But now if your wind bracket is 5 mile per hour, your entire bracket doesn't fit on the target. And that's when it gets tricky because you have to pick if you want to hold on the low side or on the high side, like what John was talking about before.
Yeah, no, I'd have to intuitively. I don't understand the system, but
I think from us talking before, Kevin, that you do wind bracketing like Donna would do.
I think, I do it I basically do wind bracketing like Donna and Yannick because that's
who just you don't refer to a plate size in miles per hour ever.
No,
and that's how I think in my head. So I say that it's just my terminology is poor.
Yeah, no, the way I do bracketing, not that we should talk about this, but is I'll approximate. Holy, I will.
Yeah.
Right. I can't even say the word.
Estimate.
Yeah, sorry. I will anyway, I'll estimate the wind
in the size of mils,
high and low in direction, and then that's what I'll have as my bracket. But I don't ever really consider the target size. Right. I never think of the target size of my bracket. I always think of low, high, and then depending on what I think the wind is at the time that I'm pulling the trigger is where I'm going to decide if I'm on my low and my high bracket. So it's a little bit less technical than your method, which I think I prefer because that's the way what you described. I think is too many steps for me to think about. I got a little raccoon brain, So,
I use the YOLO method. I just hold my crosshair somewhere near the target and yank the trigger and pray to Rimfire gods it lands on the steel.
Well, at the end of the year, at the end of the season, based on the stats, we'll know whose system works better.
I'm going to talk to you about it next there. Don't worry.
You're going to get in his head?
Yeah.
Yeah, try and confuse him as much as possible, John, before Saturday.
No. I'm good with him. Like, I'm not sure. I guess I don't know. When's Thomas having it? Is Thomas's match canceled or he's postponed still?
It's going to be rescheduled.
Right.
He was supposed to be on tonight. He has a conference call. He's working. He's working right now.
Good for him. No,
Yeah.
I'm happy to share it with you, Kevin. Absolutely.
Kevin doesn't want you to share it with him. Kevin's happy with his method. He's just trying to understand the way you do it.
Yeah. No, it's good to understand it. And that is why this book was so good.
Mhm.
Now, it's geared at F class and small bore. Yeah, they talk about small bore in there, big, whatever. So this is really going to apply to ELR because it's so far. You can have multiple wins in there, and you're going to have to really have a system, a thought process to use to nail down your wind. And then when you do miss, if you can see where you missed, how you're going to correct for that and how you're going to have a game plan going forward. So I thought it was really good at putting that mental
Putting a structure.
Putting your structure
Once again,
together. Yes.
that's the
And then
win book
there's a
for
section
rifle
where
shooters.
it's a bunch of different top level shooters talking about what they do. And you're like, nah, this guy, it doesn't apply to me. This doesn't. Oh, but this, yeah, this clicks. I get it. So anyway,
Awesome.
I do really think that it's going to. There's a number of guys further east from here who have done centerfire ELR, and I think they're going to be at a very big advantage simply understanding dealing with wind over such a long distance. But we'll get there.
Is it
The
on
win book for rifle
Amazon
shooters.
Prime? Is it on Amazon Prime? If it is, I'm ordering it right now.
Yeah, I think it is actually there, Matt.
I'd lend you mine, but go buy your own.
Let's see if it's Prime. Ah, it's not Prime. A free delivery for Prime members. I'm just saying.
Seriously, it's not
Very
Prime.
cool. It's not Prime. Why is the paperback more expensive than the hardcover? That's my real question.
I didn't even know there was one of each. I just bought it.
Just buy the book, guys. Just buy the book.
I'm gonna buy it. Yeah.
No, it's not, Rob, that I know of. I checked that.
There's a Kindle
It
format.
is, there's a Kindle
There is.
version on the Amazon link.
$14.99.
Yeah.
Just check the link out, Rob.
Yeah. Hardcover is
click.
$30 and paperback is $45 for some reason.
Just buy it. Just buy it, guys.
Yeah, I'm
Or-
probably gonna pick this up.
Or go to a CRPS match and maybe snag one off the prize table. They've been sponsors from the very beginning.
So there was,
Awesome.
I actually, one of the matches last year, that book was on the prize table. And I went up, I don't know what I grabbed, some Vortex hat or something like that. And I wonder why in the world. So it's just another book, right? And books can be overrated. But
Not these books. The other one too is that Secrets of Mental Marksmanship. That one's
it's
real,
coming,
guys.
Ryan.
There's-
You and me in.
There's stuff in there for everybody.
Oh, there's a free Kindle reading app, so you can buy this and immediately read it if you just download the app, by the way. So I'm probably going to do that.
Not significant. They were flat around nose. That's going to depend on the bullet. So like running something like the Ely Match or Ely 10X is, I wouldn't be worried.
Is 10X flat nose?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
It's
know
like,
that.
I don't know. It's not flat nose. It's like weird. It's got a little.
Yeah, it's got a little nipple in the middle.
Yeah, it's got a little nipple.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Very odd. Very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my testing, I have found round nose to be more accurate or precise, however you want to look at it. But that is my case. So I don't. You'd have to test for yourself. But there
I
are
also
guys.
have had difficulty with premium like biathlon type ammo.
But it wasn't flat nose. It was just premium ammo.
No, like flat nose. LA10X doesn't shoot good. I've shot it in 3 or 4 different types of guns,
Yeah.
and same thing with another type of flat nose. I can't remember
You should be thankful it doesn't shoot well, because that stuff is so expensive anyway. You don't want to be buying bricks of that.
Yeah, I do think that's anecdotal evidence at this point, but I do think that stuff is tailored specifically for a type of rifle and a type of shooting.
And a type of shooting, 100%. Yeah. Now, I have seen some very good long-range groups with Ely match. So your results may vary. You'll have to check it for yourself. But from a BC standpoint, I wouldn't get hung up over it.
Do you think the Ely 10X little nipple there gives it a better BC because it punches through the air before the rest of the bullet?
So yes, it does.
Is that like dimples on a golf ball?
Yeah, exactly.
It has to do with airflow over the bullet. So if you have an annular ring, it affects the airflow, particularly supersonic, and so you actually have like an air shield over the bullet. So then there's less resistance to flow. David Tubb, he's been messing with that for quite some time, the center fire. Does it affect subsonic? Yes. Can we quantify it? I don't know for ELR. But there is a reason for it. It's not by accident that they do that.
Oh yeah, Anthony Moose makes a good point. This is where the cutting edge bullets might start to make a debut in the ELR.
Are they going to be allowed? If you want to sit there and reload rimfire, you go right ahead. You can shoot all you want. Go to town. Yep. I think. Yeah.
Does it matter?
I'm a little disappointed with the cutting edge bullets. I thought whenever they originally announced that they were going to release pre-manufactured
reloaded
22 ammo, which is like super duper ready to go. Whenever they came out after like 6 months or a year later and said you got to reload this yourself, I basically lost all interest in it.
See, but now you can find your sweet spot, man. You're gonna do the ladder for rimfire. You're gonna find your load.
There's a reason I don't shoot center fire, and it's because I don't have time, nor do I want to reload.
So here's a question: when cutting edge bullets, like if it picks up and center fire guys love reloading and they're reloading these cutting edge bullets, would that put them in a different category in CRPS? Like, would there be production, open, and then cutting edge bullets? Like what?
Unlimited?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Where would that put them?
For your sub 300 yards, I don't think we have to worry about them for now. Not actually for a long time, because that's so much of positional. And
like I don't see anybody doing any better compared to what they're shooting now with it in our match formats.
Not for regular. I would say there must be a reason for this to be coming out, and that it must be for ELR. You know, like that, where you're shooting in a prone in a controlled environment, and it's better. But I don't know.
How much of it is? How much?
Those are solid copper, right?
Solid copper. They're turned on the lathe and everything.
Okay.
Comic Sniper here has actually a very good question. It says, "Too bad there's no tracer rounds, so you can see where your bullet goes." I thought about this the other day because I wanted to do testing. I wanted to do safety testing, basically in a danger zone. I wanted to see at my home range, where do my stray bullets go? Are they going in a danger zone or are they in a safe zone? So I was going to shoot at night and everything and do it all good and basically see what my beaten zone was. But this is actually a very good point. And I'd like to ask the question. Tracers aren't illegal in Canada. So would you be allowed, you can buy tracers. They're not illegal. Explosive ammunition is illegal. So can you get tracers? Could you contact Ellie and ask them to make tracer ELR ammo?
I just Googled Rimfire Tracer and they're available in the States.
Yeah, they're available in Canada too, but you have to pay like $1,000 a box.
Wait, are they bad for your barrel? Do they make it way too hot or something? Like, would you want to shoot? They
ignite after to go downrange.
Yeah.
Typically.
Interesting.
So that's actually a very interesting comment because I thought about it, not for the same reason of tracking.
I had tracer rounds for my Garand.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That was cool. Old school.
When you had one.
Yeah, way back when. Back in the day. Yeah, we had that. We talked about milsurp the other couple episodes ago. So we got to talk about that. Oh, I shot a BAR too that weekend.
But would you be able to see tracers in the daytime though?
I did not.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
No.
Right. But you might be able to trace it with a
Infrared.
very expensive infrared.
So I have a suggestion for you, Kevin. Okay, this is way off topic. I apologize. But in airsoft, do you know how the tracers work? So the BB itself is a glow-in-the-dark BB, and you put a fake suppressor on your rifle that has lights that shine into it. So as your BB passes through, it charges them. So why don't you get the same suppressor light system? Just paint your rounds with some glow-in-the-dark paint, and as you shoot them down your barrel, they'll they'll light up at night for you. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just put a bag of flour at the end of your muzzle so that when the bullet goes through, it picks up the flour and just releases it downrange. Would that work? Probably not.
Yeah. Instead, you know what? I'm gonna pick up some proprietary. It's a new product. It's called fluorescent orange lead, and I'm just gonna make my bullets out of this fluorescent orange lead, and then I'll be able to see them. You know. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Any other points for ELR? I think we kind of went round and round. I think there was a minimum gear level that you have to invest if you want to do this full time, which is all tied to cant. And there's many strategies from, a DIY wedge or a Charlie Tarek or an Air Attack or any one of those adjustable mounts or optical devices. I think there's a formula that we came up with. You could using off-the-shelf products configure your rifle to be usable between 300 and 700 yards, right? With just selecting enough cant and enough cant on the rings to make it happen.
Yep.
And we covered the match format. Again, there's the 22 ELR challenge that's on Facebook right now. Just look for it in Facebook and you'll see what it is. Different target size at different distances. Everyone can participate. And then our match format's going to be 3 out of 10 hits, 2 practice shots per distance. 3 out of 10 gets you to the next distance. And we talked about the sizes, which is full lipstick, 24 inches, 30 inches, 36, and then 48, going out to 700 yards. And 700 yards is roughly 0.4 miles. So it's double the 0.22 miles. So that was it. And fast twist works. If you're shooting ELR, 1 in 12 makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Supersonic, yes. Hypersonic, not so much.
The issues.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
We'll have to try
it
it
won't
out.
even chamber in your match barrel anyway. So
Somebody was saying, IBI might be doing some stinger chambers.
stinger chambers with a 1 in 12.
Can you imagine?
If 2021 is the gear race, 2022 is going to be the IBI barrel race.
No, it's a stinger 1 in 9, 30-inch barrel.
Yeah.
Bring it down to subsonic again.
Right, fine, 28 inch barrel.
but that thing's stable, man. That thing is stable. Yeah, I mean, there's a sweet spot. Obviously, we'll have to keep chopping until we get to the sweet spot. Wind matters. Target size are generous. I mean, it's just finding the right venue for us. So if anyone has any safe ranges out to 800 yards and would love to host a Rimfire Nation weekend, which is basically a Rimfire Fest, we're going to bring out all the different stages, all the gear, all the kit that we've got, and everyone can bring their own gear if they want to shoot their gear. So we'll have all the demo stages set up of all the different disciplines, and you get to try out most, if not all, of the Vortex products. Athlon, we'll have Loopold and Minox and March scopes, and what else? All of the major action makers, with the exception of the Curtis Valor, will be available for you to try out. And Scott, I gotta talk to you. I'll talk to you in a bit, Scott, about Rimfire Nation weekend in Saskatoon. or Saskatchewan. I'm not sure where you are, but we can make it happen. Anything else, guys?
I would love to go to Saskatchewan for that reason.
Let's road trip, buddy.
Yeah,
road trip.
I would. I like even our ELR thing. Knowing a guy in Saskatchewan that has like a big macro farmers. I don't know what the term is there. Like these guys have like
everyone's got one.
30 kilometers worth of land, and just like my God, it's a dream, you know. Anyways, let's not get off topic.
Kevin, some people think that your life is already a dream. How can it be dreamier than yours?
Well, if you got 30 kilometers of lane,
yeah, but you can only shoot to 1,000 yards. So what do you need 30 kilometers for?
Because then I can shoot 30 kilometers. You know, make myself a anti-tank cannon. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Anything else, guys?
No. ELR. Thanks for
So again, ELR for us is just it's in the growth phase. Where it's going to be in 5 years, who knows? Just like where Rimfire Precision was 3 years ago, who knows where ELR is going to be 3 years from now. But I know that all of you three are amazing engineers and developers, so I'm sure you'll have some solutions to some of these challenges. Elegant or not, but they'll work. You've already got your periscope. John's working on his the wedgie. The wedgie, is that what they're calling it?
Yeah,
the wedgie. The Gingrich wedgie. That's awesome. And so stay tuned. I mean, ELR it's really just meant to be a fun event. Eventually it might get serious, but for now it's just, hey, let's take a poke at it and see if we can ring steel. And then we'll have some cool setups already dialed in for that 300 yard zero as a starting point to get you out to 700 yards. So shout out this week. I think for me, it's all our amazing sponsors that continue to astound me with the support and the generosity. I appreciate all their support for making it happen. And I think people across Canada appreciate the opportunity to try all the different kit that we've been able to bring out to them. So thank you, sponsors. Thank you to Tesro for graciously sponsoring the Rimfire Nation podcast. And I want to thank my colleagues, Matt, Kevin, John, and Mr. Thomas, who couldn't be with us tonight, for being such cool guys, for hanging out. The amount of knowledge you guys have astounds me on a weekly basis. So thank you for taking the time and sharing what you know with us and your experience. So anyone else have any shout outs or thank yous?
I think you just said it about, everything for me anyway.
Yeah, I think I did my shout out numerous times on Linda's win book here. I'm a real doubter often when it comes to books. So I was really surprised how it worked with my analytical thinking.
That's big praise coming from John G.
Yeah, that's actually true.
But yeah,
Kevin, did you have something bad?
Well, not really, but I was on the phone. We got those nice CRPS jerseys that came in. That's my Facebook profile picture. So I got some buddies of mine who don't know anything about shooting, and he's like, "Oh man, that's pretty cool. Are you sponsored?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, don't have that."
You have no idea.
And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's actually I started thinking about the things that we have access to, and the discounts and stuff that we've been provided, and the help that the sponsors are helping. It's truly appreciated. So yeah, having lab radars to use and having scopes to use just as we need, it's hugely beneficial. Yeah,
we have some great people out there, and for you guys listening out there, send on our website we have all of our sponsors. Send them a thank you. Just tell them how much you appreciate their support. Makes our jobs easier next year trying to get their support. So thanks for listening. Thanks for coming out. And
don't forget the loaner rifles in the mentor program.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the match loaner rifle and mentorship program. That the season looks like it's going to open up again soon across Canada. Things are looking good for July opening everywhere, hopefully. Yeah. And we'll be bringing the show on the road, and we'll have the match rifles. And for all the events, if you would like an experienced shooter to assist you, throughout the match, as well as using a highly tuned rifle matched to ammo with the dope charts captured by Lab Radar. Just let us know, and we'll make that happen for you. That's it. All right, guys. Thank you very much to all of you out there. Thanks for tuning in. It's 16 weeks we've been doing this. Time flies when you're having fun. So appreciate it. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Later.
See you guys.